Hello, I'm Piers Sellers. I've been fortunate enough to see the Earth from space when I was an astronaut. We all live on an unbelievably beautiful planet. Earth and the life on Earth has evolved together to fit each other perfectly. Now, I'm also a climate scientist, and I've spent most of my life trying to better understand how the Earth system works. And the science community that I work with is firmly convinced that we humans are changing the planet and the climate in a potentially disastrous way. To make the changes we need to make and to reach a safer future, we will need the resources of everybody here, the scientists, the policymakers, and the industrialists, all working together towards a common goal. And that goal is a planet that can continue to support life, including all of us. Thank you.
Died just a couple weeks after he recorded that message. And that he thought the fight against climate change so important that was the last recorded message that he ever made before he died. And so, going back to my presentation, let's see. So right now on Earth, we're a bit screwed. I don't know if you guys noticed that the planet sometimes is on fire. The joke is that every billionaire is building their own private escape pod from the planet so that they can leave before things go from bad to worse. And nowhere on Earth can you see the effects of climate change more than in the ocean. Our world is made up of 70% water, and the oceans form the dumping grounds for all kinds of pollution, including microplastics, oil, and CO2. We're literally choking off marine life. Nowhere on Earth, at the same time, the ocean is a vast, unexplored environment. Robert Ballard, the discoverer of the Titanic, who works next to me in LA, said NASA's annual budget for space exploration could fund NOAA's budget, the National Oceanic Atmosphere Administration, for ocean exploration for 1,600 years. So people talk about how little NASA's budget is. Well, imagine what NOAA's budget is. Nowhere is this felt more than the beautiful kelp forests that serve as the lungs of the ocean. And this entire environment, about 80% of the ocean, is still unexplored. Just like the deforestation of the rainforest, the loss of kelp, our underwater rainforest, has led to a decimation of ocean species and an overall increase in global carbon emissions. So, as you can tell, I really like algae. I'm wearing a Pond Scum t-shirt that's printed in algae ink. And all of this talk about things going wrong is making me a bit grumpy, so I can give you a little bit more background on me and tell you how you can particularly help with this problem today. So, I run a company called Spirit. This is me at High Seas running some experiments for us. We work with genetically engineered algae. We replace petrochemicals, and we're trying to reinvent the way the supply chain is done. Creating carbon positive, really like pro-sustainable, going beyond just staying the way we are. You may see me drinking some of the blue dye that my company creates. I have a couple of samples. If you want one, please ask me. I have a background in synthetic biology, and I see DNA as my artistic medium. Love playing with these tiny self-replicating machines known as microbes. So as a proud member of Sublime 1 at High Seas in September of 2021. What's up? Normally, I partner with farms in developing countries to grow our algae. This was one of the farms. We pay more than a living wage to farmers and suck down thousands of tons of CO2 while we're growing, and then ship all of our algae to a facility in LA to be processed into healthier compounds for people on the planet. And part of the reason why I'm here and when I was in the HAB was trying to miniaturize our systems to absorb CO2, treat wastewater, absorb radiation as kind of a protective barrier, and produce nutrient-dense foods in ISRU and situ research utilization compounds for life on other planets. So I have another clip. Let's see if this plays. Let's see. Let's try this. Oh. Do it. Without ads, please. Make it happen. Click it. Yeah.
Okay. Exactly how much time do we have before it's too late?
Technically, 20 days.
Okay. then we should take that time.
No, we need as much of that margin of error as possible in case anything else happens.
Margin of error? What hypothetical situation could be worse than the one we're in right now?
Worst case scenario is he still dies, but we die along with him.
How?
What's left of the algae is hanging on by a thread as it is.
So you're fine just giving up on a person because the risk...
Realistically, every day he's still here, it's a danger to all of us. I am telling you, Hyperion has anyone with a PhD down there trying to work this out.
And they're not here. And maybe we can think of something that they haven't.
Okay, cool. So, if anybody's seen the movie Stowaway, not the best one, in my opinion, but I love how they included algae. They also did not grow it in the best way either. Like, they're really bad at growing. Like, come on, really? And so I used to tell people that if Mark Watney had algae on Mars, he wouldn't have had to leave. He really could have sustained himself indefinitely. So the king of the algae is kelp. Kelp grows up to 100 feet tall. It needs cool water to grow, and it can grow more than a foot a day. It grows along more than 20% of the world's coastlines. It prevents coastal erosion due to storms and used as an edible food source and a habitat for a ton of marine life. So, including these little guys. Hi, what's up? Otter made kelp forests their home. They're super cute. Just don't check out the river otters. They're really terrifying. But the sea otter's great. So prior to the 1850s, otters lived all over the coast of California until they were nearly hunted to extinction for their fur. And funnily enough, that's the main reason why fur trappers from Russia left California. And California is in Russia, because there wasn't any otter fur left to sell. So otters are keystone species, as you see right here. They form the center of the food web and keep the urchin populations particularly in check, because otherwise the urchins would eat all of the kelp. And so an adult male sea otter may eat as many as 50 urchins a day. And why does all of this matter? Look at how happy he is. Look at that. Because without the otters, all of the kelp forests have been dying. And urchins subsist on kelp as their main food source. And without a predator, they've been overrunning the coastline habitats, destroying all the kelp forests. And in some places, this has led to over 600 urchins per square meter, while absolutely decimating the kelp. And this is just the past couple of years. And an urchin barren is really a terrible thing. It's really a dead wasteland where nothing can grow, covered in purple spikes. So you can't even walk there, you can't even be there. But there's some hope. And that's, and by 2019, there were virtually no kelp forests along the parts of California coast. So this is just up the coast of California around the central coast right here. So by 2019, no kelp forests. But there's some hope. That's where all of you come in, right? Turns out, what is most needed right now are people with scuba dive certifications who are willing to dive to harvest as many urchins as possible, just like this. All you gotta do is go down there and pull up as many urchins as possible. Better yet, urchin is a delicacy that sells on the market for over $650 a pound. It's used in sushi and has a salty, umami, creamy, buttery taste that is a highly prized delicacy in Japanese markets. So, me and a couple friends got thinking, especially working with kelp, what if we assembled a merry band of space pirates to go scuba diving for urchins and save the kelp? So, introducing the Mars Analog Astronaut Space Mission. So we will be undertaking a 2-week sailing voyage off the coast of Los Angeles with 12 people. We have a pirate ship. We'll be scuba diving on EVAs to harvest urchins, mapping the underwater coastline to reintroduce the sea otter. The launch window is right there. The expected prices are right there. And applications are due July 4th, and that's a link to the website, so you can scan the QR code and everything. And this is our beautiful habitat right here. Right here, this big sailing ship. So my laboratory is located in their parking lot. I know them really, really well. They've been doing this for 30 years. They have a 113-foot ship. There's enough bunks for 30 people. We're only taking 12. 3 bathrooms, showers. It's gonna be cozier than high seas, and no offense, but probably a little cozier than Lunaris too. I'm not entirely sure, but pretty comfy. Big generator, water maker, everything like that. We're bringing a compressor on board so we can go scuba diving. Enough room for gear and experiments for everyone. and you. So, avast, me scallywags, if you want to join the salty pirate crew, we're looking for all of these kind of people. Please help us. We're looking for underwater documentary crew, experienced divers. If you have any kind of dive certification, we won't go lower than about 40 feet at a time because that's where the kelp grows best. Ocean science specialists, of course, different kind of sponsors that are willing to put their name forward to help with conservation, ocean science, space analogs, other kind of research as well in this kind of enclosed environment, isolated for 2 weeks. And then, of course, people that are willing to help on the ground. Maybe you don't have a scuba dive certification, or you don't scuba dive, or you don't interact, or you don't want to go on a sailboat. You can be mission control, and you can help plan the mission too. So, looking for your application to join. And so remember, at the end of the day, how these type of analog missions can help explore the ocean, help heal planet Earth, and train astronauts for future life looking back at this beautiful blue marble and remember how we helped it sustain. So, big thank you to everybody. And a big thanks to my teammates who are on the back right there, so for making this happen. These are all of our emails if you want to contact us. And then I will be putting up a QR code to the website so you can go there, contact us, and any questions you might have. There you go. Any questions?
Can you go back to the page with all the dates and info?
Of course, a lot of that's on the website too.
Okay.
So if you guys, I don't know if the QR code's working anymore.
So what caused the rapid degradation of the kelp forests between those two dates?
Yeah. So part of what scientists believe caused it is an El Nino event that warmed the waters beyond the temperature that the kelp could really sustain itself in an effective way. So it wiped out a lot of the kelp to the point where they couldn't really resist the urchins. Prior to about 2012 or 2013, they were doing okay in keeping up with the urchins, but then the warmer waters caused the urchins to take over. Since there's no predators in the area, they just grew and grew and grew and grew. And now you can find hundreds and hundreds in a tiny, tiny area. They're everywhere.
Just a question, if you remove the orchids, can you push out the kelp removal?
Yeah, so this has already been done in small ways. Starting in about 2014 and continuing on until today, there are crews of urchin divers that go out every week, multiple times a week, that clear out different areas because there's so many, there's millions and millions of these urchins. And they clear out areas, and kelp grows exceptionally quickly, and it'll start growing almost immediately. And so you see a green stump, and then all of a sudden you see little kelp fawns start budding up.
In terms of the balance, what about the sea otter population, increasing that to get the whole ecosystem back together?
That is the dream. So the idea would be try to figure out where is the most protected best area to reintroduce the otters that they would enjoy the best. They did this originally in Monterey Bay and reintroduced the otters there, and they've really taken to that area. And so bringing back the sea otter is a continued and sustained effort that we can definitely take part in. Also playing with otters would be great.
Are there better alternatives than just manually removing all of the urchins? Is there a more efficient way, or is this really the best way to get rid of them?
So unless you have an underwater ROV that you want to try out to go through and pluck all the urchins up, they are really hard at grabbing onto because they have spikes. And so normally people use stuff like claw hammers, and I think there was, yeah, there you go, that's the one. So you go scuba diving on down with a claw hammer, and you chip them off the rocks, and then you collect them in a little bag and bring them up. So manually is really one of the best ways to do it right now. Beyond that, unless you're introducing something else that eats the sea urchins, it's going to be really hard. Depends on how good you are, right? So I think that part of this overall training will be figuring out how to operate in an environment very similar to space. So wearing a scuba suit, being able to unable to communicate in the same way that you would, using hand signals, operating in an environment where it's almost like industrial work, like you would be doing on the moon in a moon-like environment. And so in essence, you're probably going to have crews competing to see how many they can pull up to.
Does the collection and hopeful selling of the urchins feed back into the cost to go?
Well, so that's the hope, but the problem is there's such a density of urchin population that they don't actually produce very much meat at all. And so right now, and this is part of the problem with the urchin fishermen originally too, is that they want the urchins gone too. And they want the urchins gone so that you can have healthier populations come back. There's actually more food for all of them. So currently right now, it's more that the urchins will be, we're trying to find a good company to partner with to give the urchins to, as opposed to just killing them all off, and something a little bit more humane and better to use them for.
Yes, at the beginning of your talk, you mentioned that billionaires are making spacecraft to escape Earth. That's really what you think?
No, I said the joke is, but I do think that there's a commonplace knowledge that the focus and money going to something like that, as opposed to going to conservation projects like this, and the overwhelming kind of investment in those kind of activities, paling in comparison to conservation efforts, is something that causes people to think, oh, they're just trying to leave.
Is this ship the long-term goal, or are you looking to have one that's going to be closer to maybe lunar, like a habitat in the future?
Are you saying the ship is long-term goal?
Yeah, are you looking at improving that as you go on, or is this just opportunity, or is that part of the goal?
So we aim to make this a consistent routine. And then using this as a model for other potential invasive species as well. So there's other examples of like the lionfish as an example off the coast of the Caribbean, or other invasive species that kind of take over different oceanic environments. And so the idea is to use this as a model, record a lot of content information, videography, photography, to get to the point where we're able to talk about this quite a bit more and get more space companies involved.
So, when you said lionfish and carried that kind of project, because the whole issue of ocean management and ocean understanding is very complex, right? And as you said rightly, not a lot of funding is being spent on that. Even for coastal zone communities and island nations, the education system is not providing the sort of intelligence or literacy, let's call it literacy, around the use of the sea, the value of the sea, and the complex fragility of the sea. So I know this is a small mission here, but how might you design the process of the intake, the execution, and the outpouring of the information in such a way as to build a community that could then say, okay, here is how we might use it to educate. You're on the coast of Los Angeles. Right there in Los Angeles, I'm sure you have people who don't know anything about the sea. So that might be a test bed for how might these kind of experiments plug into communities who are underserved, undereducated. And I'm speaking about Caribbean practical. This is something I'm passionate about because in the Caribbean, we still do not have in the high school programming much information about the sea.
Yeah, I would say how might we, because not how might you, not how might me in particular, but like as a community we can get together on this. This is definitely something that we can champion as well, because this is just the first test case of an analog mission. And I think this kind of training is actually really important for people going into space, and then it's also something that can be an educational platform for a community as well. So without a doubt, we still operate in the ocean like hunter-gatherers. We go out into the ocean, we catch things, we bring it back, and then we dump all of our trash in there. And so changing the mindset to having it be something of conservation and cultivation is something that takes time, and something that we're going to do intentionally over long periods of time. So yes, I would love to talk to you more about that.
But that maybe ties into the fact that this mission would need some very good media outreach, like a documentary. So it could be a starting point, and then see how it can develop more. That's, I guess, how I would.
We to some astounding visual producers in the audience,
Comic.
and some phenomenal people here who have operated in analog environments before and have done a great job with media coverage and press. So yeah, I would, yes, I agree.
Cold.
Oh, yes?
How much algae are you gonna make a seed on this?
So I think that good green, that sticky icky, it's going to be really, really good to try at least a couple of different oceanic-based dishes on it. Part of the entire concept of this is to develop more of a relationship with the ocean. So sailing, and then being in this enclosed space, I mean, it is a old school brigantine sailing vessel. It is what was used in the early 1900s and late 1800s to bring people all over the place. And so this old school boat has its own quirks, has its own things. You're going to be part of a crew to sail from place to place. And then you're also going to be scuba diving quite often. So it's quite physical and then demanding as that pertains. And then there are certain things that you can only do in terms of scientific experiments on the ocean in this kind of isolated environment. The other thing that's really important about this is that there's a lot of safety considerations, especially when you're dealing with oxygen and going down underwater. And so this is going to be as close to a lunar mission as possible in terms of showcasing what it would be like in a zero-G environment on a craft heading to the moon. So we'll have a lot of that going on. The water temperatures also off the coast of California are quite cold. So we are working on securing sponsorship and wetsuits and all of the gear to make this happen. The launch date is coming on up, so if you're interested in getting involved, please contact us here. We are more than willing to accept any help whatsoever. Cool. And if you want to talk to me about algae-related things as well, whether it's for different kinds of ecosystems or anything at all, please see me. I will probably give you a strange blue powder, and then you'll have some fun with it. Thank you.